If you're here, you probably know or love someone with an eating disorder. And you might not know that people who are struggling with eating disorders can very easily be influenced by what others around them are saying. So needless to say, here are 5 things that you should not say to someone with an eating disorder.
Hello everybody, my name is Jocelyn Martinez, and today I was trying to think of different things to talk about in relation to eating disorders, and I figured a lot of people focus on, what do I say to my daughter or my son or my friend who has an eating disorder, like what do I say to them? And I thought, I was like, why don't we talk about what not to say to them? Because from what I've witnessed, there's many people say things for many different reasons. Some do say some stuff intentionally, and I think that's because they have their own problems, and sometimes it gets turned into a competition. Some people are just ignorant, and some people really think that they're trying to say the right things, and it's just not registering the right way in someone's mind. So today we are going to talk about 5 things not to say to someone with an eating disorder. The first one is, you look so good. How do you get so skinny? Something along those lines. Obviously, it doesn't have to be that exact statement, but I've seen way too many people complimenting people on their thinness, or just complimenting people on the change of their body. And specifically with anorexia, I've had people say that to me, ask me how I got so skinny. Most people, I think in this case, whether they're being ignorant or not, I feel like most people who do say something like this obviously have a problem themselves and have not come to terms with it yet. But yeah, I would not say that to someone who just lost a lot of weight, complimenting them on how much better they look, and what did they do, because I think it's pretty obvious what they did to look like that. They starved themselves. So I think that, yeah, that's one. Please don't say that. Yeah. Second is, you need to eat more. Like, duh. Like, yes, Suzanne, I don't know. Yes, I know that I need to eat more. Thanks for stating the obvious. It's just like, that's just something where it's like, again, ignorant. It's like, I'm a human being, I have a brain. Just because I starved myself doesn't mean I'm stupid. It takes a lot easier said than done, and I think most people know that with a lot of things, but telling someone what they need to do, especially stating the obvious of what they need to do, is not going to help. Especially if you're really not close to that person, or like, there's so many people who've tried to help me, and so many of those people were not close to me. Like, I'm like, why are you even talking to me about this? It just doesn't feel appropriate. And second, I knew the people who were genuine about it, and I knew the people who were just saying it to make themselves look good and make themselves feel better. So I think the point is one, I think if you're thinking about saying this to someone, I think you need to assess how close you are to them. Would you be comfortable if you were in the same position of them saying that to you? I think you really need to go down deep into yourself and really ask yourself, are you doing this because you truly, truly care about them, or are you insecure and you just want to find any way to make yourself feel better and make yourself feel like you are having a good impact on somebody. Third, do you know how many calories are in that? Like, yes, and I could probably tell you the calories that are in a teaspoon of peanut butter, 100 grams of an apple, half of a banana, 10 grapes, half of an Oreo cookie, like, oh God, that is one of the most, I really hate that statement. I hate that because people with eating disorders, usually most of the time, one of the biggest habits they have is counting calories. Most people with eating disorders, anything they eat, anything you eat, I bet you they could say the calories off the top of their head. And they don't want to be able to do that. I promise you, like, it's a habit. You're forced to do it. And most of the time you really don't want to be doing that. A lot of the times, like when I was recovering, I used to hate when the menu of a restaurant had the calories, which a lot of them do. You don't realize that until you're like screwed up with your eating. And then I was like, Mom, like why is all these calories on here? Like I don't want to be seeing that. Because you have to practice eating just what makes you feel good and not worrying about how many freaking numbers are in that. Like it's all about the numbers. And a lot of the times, again, this statement, I've had people say this to me, and most of those people, again, had their own problems that they didn't recognize yet. Because obviously, who else is going to be thinking about how many calories is something? Not somebody who has a healthy relationship with food. I don't really think about, there's sometimes I do think about calories, but most of the time when I'm eating something, I'm really not thinking about how many calories are in it at this point in my life. But when I was struggling with food, yes, I thought about calories all the time. So if you are saying that to someone else, again, I think you need to go within yourself and maybe ask yourself if you have a problem as well. Oh, number 4 is like something like saying like, I haven't eaten anything today so far, or this is the big thing in my high school. This was the big thing in my high school because hibachi was like 5-minute drive away. Oh, I didn't eat all day because I'm just saving up for hibachi, or I had, this much eggs this morning. Like, I don't need to see your servings. I don't care. I don't want to see it. Because then at that point it turns into, and people have said that to me, and to me, it felt like it was turning into a competition. Because then little Ed, that little voice in the back there, started to get revved up again, and you started to hear his voice being like, oh, you ate a lot more than that. Oh, you didn't starve yourself for hibachi. Like, what's up? Like, you couldn't guess there's kind of a recurring theme here. Most of these statements, they're coming from someone. It's coming from someone who's also struggling with their body and with food. Like, I don't need to know about your servings, what you did to starve yourself, how you prepared yourself for your Miami trip because you gotta wear a bikini. Like, I don't care. Respectfully. And I think that's what people with eating disorders, that's one of my biggest advice to people with eating disorders, is that whether they're a genuinely good person or not, because sometimes they're not. I've come across many, many people who have said these things that are not. A lot of the times, you gotta cut them out respectfully. Right now, you have to put yourself first, and that's it. Even if you have to be around them all the time, you don't have to be bestie with them. Like, you don't even have to talk to them. You can acknowledge them, say hi, be kind, but you don't have to get wrapped up in all that unnecessary competitive crap, basically. And the last statement is, oh, I wish I looked like that. Like, no, you don't. No, you don't. And if you do, then you have a problem. Again, this is the theme of these statements. I guess I didn't even realize it until I'm speaking about it now. And I'm thinking about the people who've said these things to me. And they've had problems. Okay, maybe you wish you looked like that, but I promise you, you do not wish to be going through what I'm going through right now. So even if you're not aware that they have an eating disorder, it's just these things. You really got to be careful with who you're speaking to and what you're saying. Saying I wish I looked like that when someone is clearly struggling is just feeding their eating disorder more. That's all you're doing. You're feeding the monster to grow bigger and to be able to take over them. And I think that's why these statements are just so important to kind of keep in mind. And again, you know, I said again. But again, it's all about, there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be things that you say that you might regret, and do not beat yourself up about it. Yeah. I think that was super important to say, because, man, going back to my experience, because that's the only experience I can talk about confidently, having all of those statements in my life a lot 24/7 when I was going through my eating disorder just delayed my recovery so much and made me stay in those cycles. And I'm not saying it's just those statements, it's still in my control, but those statements definitely did feed the monster more, and it just didn't help. And I'm glad that I'm aware about those statements now. Yeah, please just be really, really smart and cautious when you're talking to people who you know are struggling, who you assume are struggling, who you think are struggling. Okay? Even if you don't know exactly, it's just better to be safe than sorry. I hope you learned something from this video, and I hope you forgive yourself for the things you say or said, and just don't be too hard on yourself if you have said these things, or you do in the future accidentally say these things to someone who might be struggling, because you don't deserve to get beaten down as well. And if you are struggling and someone does say these things to you, you do have a right to kindly and respectfully say something back. You have every single right in the world, because I was so scared to stick up for myself as a child, and I would never let that happen to me today. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out in the comments, Instagram DM if you're more comfortable. And yeah, if you have any other statements, if you're struggling and somebody said something to you like this and you want more people to be aware of it, please put them in the comments. Yeah, okay. I really encourage your participation if you are struggling or if you know somebody who's struggling. Bye!